The atomic bomb, one of the most destructive creations of humanity, has a paradoxical legacy. It destroys not only its targets, but often the lives of those who create, possess, or deploy it. While it may symbolize ultimate power, the consequences of wielding such destructive technology extend far beyond the battlefield. Here's why the atomic bomb has often proven to be a curse to its owner. The weight of moral responsibility. The scientists and the leaders who develop or use atomic bombs often find themselves in severe moral dilemmas. For example, J. Robert Oppenheimer, called the father of the atomic bomb, famously quoted the Bhagavad Gita after the first successful test. "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." This haunting realization stayed with him for the rest of his life, leading to public remorse and estrangement from the very project he had spearheaded. Leaders who authorize the use of atomic bombs carry the heavy burden of knowing they have caused immense suffering. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki resulted in the deaths of over 200,000 people, many of them civilians. Survivors faced radiation sickness, lifelong health issues, and devastating psychological trauma. The moral weight of such decisions can haunt decision-makers, tarnishing their legacies and sometimes isolating them politically or socially. Global fear and isolation. Possession of nuclear weapons puts a country in a state of isolation in the international arena. Despite the deterrent, nuclear weapons might make a nation a target of international criticism, sanctions, or even hostility. The world, through treaties like NPT, actively discourages the spread of nuclear weapons. Hence, it is a bone of contention in owning nuclear weapons. Countries like North Korea have suffered intense economic sanctions and diplomatic isolation due to their nuclear programs. Rather than promising safety, nuclear ambitions have increased the depth of economic struggles and isolated them in the world arena. The risk of self-destruction. Atomic weapons are held with the ever-present threat of accidents, miscalculations, or misuse. The Cold War showed how close the world was to nuclear annihilation due to misunderstandings or technical malfunctions. The Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 nearly escalated into a full-scale nuclear war, showing how fragile the balance of power is. Even with precautions, the threat of a disastrous mistake is always looming. For instance, false alarms in nuclear systems have almost brought about unintended retaliatory strikes. The dangers in keeping such weapons are well epitomized. Its own population will become the casualties if such weapons are mishandled. Economic and social costs. Developing and sustaining nuclear weapons requires large financial inputs. To countries that are financially restricted, this orientation toward military strength draws funds from necessary sectors such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure. This was one reason why the economic strains of the Soviet Union resulted from the Cold War arms race and significantly contributed to its eventual collapse. Furthermore, nuclear testing leaves scars not only on the land, but on its inhabitants too. The United States used Marshall Islands as their testing ground. To this date, Marshall Islands are uninhabitable due to radiation. Its long-term impacts affect the country that conducted those tests and further generations. The ethical paradox. Owning an atomic bomb creates an ethical paradox. A nation holds the power to destroy the world, while simultaneously condemning others for pursuing similar capabilities. This hypocrisy can undermine international credibility and trust. For instance, nuclear-armed nations demanding disarmament from others while maintaining their own arsenals creates a double standard that fosters resentment and defiance. The psychological toll. This relentless pressure to operate a tool of such devastating capability drains from leaders, the military, and society at large. The danger of mutual devastation makes the people of that generation paranoid and fearful as well, an experience similar to that during the Cold War era. Whole generations have lived with the specter of nuclear extinction looming over their heads, being regularly reminded through drills and propaganda about how precarious peace was. In spite of the atomic bomb being first praised as the instrument of absolute power, it ultimately becomes a sword double-edged to its owners. The moral, social, economic, and psychological price of creating and using such bombs can kill people who design and control them. Instead of promising security, an atomic bomb turns out to be a terrible example of humanity's ability to kill itself, a force that holds with it immense significance for everyone in the picture.